UNC family, listen to the lyrics of Richie Spide. The earth are run red. Watch out for them big-time thief. Them who claim them are be smart. Our children are dying. 3 months ago, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 11-year-old, baby shot in the eye, 9-year-old, ducking bullets and dying. And out of a 4-hour and 12-minute budget, the PNM gives you 2 minutes. What Rowley does do in Tobago in the parlor sharing chips for 2 minutes, they give you that and they tell you hold that, they in charge. Before I get going, I say condolences to the family and friends of our warrior Stephen Reese, a man on Synergy TV, one of the fairest commentators. I don't agree with everything he says, but his father passed away, so condolences, Stephen Reese, and our prayers from the UNC go with you. The people want indemnity from Rowley. The people want indemnity from the PNM. The people want indemnity from PNM corruption. The PNM is raiding the treasury day by day in front of our faces. The people want indemnity from PNM recusals. They want indemnity from PNM nepotism. We want indemnity from PNM oppression. We want indemnity from PNM heartlessness. We want indemnity from PNM coal pot and bike. The people want to eat macaroni, pie, and ham at Christmas and go to movie town. Give us indemnity. Call election. Give us indemnity. Her name is Kamala. Even the Express has the bonfire on the PNM. Express, Newsday, Guardian, TV6, CNC3, as you allowed a miscreant who impregnated a girl of school age to become prime minister, as you allowed a man who took gravel to roll somewhere by him from a hospital. You gave a man who gave his friend authorized outline approval to increase his land at Shorelands for Renaissance from 10 million to 850 million. Greenvale, Las Alturas, Emailgate, Delsey-gate. You ignored a miscreant and now our country is crying and the earth a run red Express. But that's why I use a red pen to now underline as you have been forced to tell the truth. Because it has gotten so bad that not even you Express, not even Judy Raymond, who expresses her love through the pen for whatever 2 minutes Rowley could give her, not even the guardian of Rowley's K-Pax could defend this nonsense. But you all come to pretend you're feigning truth now. Let me read from the Express. And you know them PNM balling the papers against them. Mutually assured destruction. It is hard to escape the feeling that Trinidad and Tobago is being run by a bunch of amateurs. You now know that? It's the same amateurs 7 years. It's the worst time in Trinidad and Tobago history. Road collapsing, people busting tire. You can't get water. They want to charge you more for electricity that you're not getting. Tree fall down, blackout. The whole place in a mess. Guns and bullets. We're going at 559 murders for the year. And all you now realize, them is amateur. The Nelson quagmire not only threatens to engulf the Rowley administration, but to drag the country's reputation through the mud. You now know that? But when small pin young who do nothing for this country but sit down and call the Hart Commission of Inquiry, the Off Inquiry, and get $100,000 per day, then he defend Rowley in his lies of Emailgate to become a super minister, swear on the Bible to serve all you, and he father, he brother, and he collect about $5 billion. All you didn't know them was amateur, but there's not amateur in raiding the treasury. Them is professional. But Express, the people want indemnity from the mutually assured destruction that you're talking about. The people want indemnity from a mass media that has obfuscated and allowed Rowley to rise to be prime minister. When we talk about this Nelson Gate, there were other instances of the exact activity, and I want you all to think about the mind of a human being now. Let's go back to Emailgate before Rowley was prime minister. What was Emailgate? Rowley had pieces of toilet paper fabrications. He brought 31 so-called emails into the parliament, 29 of which could not even be emails. A 5-year-old would know that there weren't enough characters for it to even enter the cloud. The only cloud it enter is white cloud toilet paper that Rowley does use at one Woodbrook place to wipe his face when he see what going on down there. And he came into the parliament, called a motion of no confidence in a sitting prime minister. Think about the mind of a human being who would do that. Knowing full well it was a total, complete fabrication and lie, he called the whole country to pay attention. He stood up in the parliament, in the air conditioner, in the waterfront for an hour and 15 minutes after holding these pieces of toilet paper for 6 months, which claimed that the government wanted to kill somebody, kill a reporter, that the man who he later made commissioner of police was plotting. This dastardly liar stood there, then pushed a march and told you all and walked straight into the office of Prime Minister with the help of the media who never said, lies, lies, Rowley, you lie. And now you all are shocked at Nelson Gate. Think about the mind of a human being who for 7 years continues and up to this point tries to claim that Email Gate had some efficacy. The emails did not exist. Therefore, if they do not exist, you cannot investigate the contents of that which not exists. The PNM cabinet has no brain. You cannot investigate the brain of the cabinet because it does not exist. It's the biggest bunch of dotish people ever assembled to lead anything. Then you had Procurement Gate. You all sat there, the media sat there, and independent senators sat there, and one of them voted. While a government came with procurement legislation that was designed to protect your money from thieves, they said that is too good. That is too much words. That is too many clauses. That have too much control over too much money. Let me unlock the treasury a little bit. Move that. Move legal fees. Move medical supply. Move that. They unlock your money. Why? To keep it safe? Or to thief it, and you all just let it stay there, and you stayed silent. There was the fake oil gate. Keith Rowley comes to you, the country, and the media, and says, that is my friend. I in charge of Petrotrin. The Petrotrin do an audit, and they say oil disappearing. All of a sudden, oil moved from X amount to 23,000 X amount. And Rowley say, well, that's my friend, I call him. Rowley is the head of the National Security Council. Rowley in charge of the Minister of the Energy. Rowley in charge of Petrotrin. Rowley upon the board of Petrotrin. And you all allow him to stay there and control a whole investigation into his friend who does dance bareback and use racist epithets. But all you want to worry about a councillor who blacker than me talking about the N-word? All you don't know the rules of N-word. But I wouldn't use it, the Douglas. But I will deal with you all seriously. And you all are in shock now. Rowley went with Small Pin and Al-Rawi, the duns who still long in law school. And when Anand Ramlogan and Kamla Prasad Bissesa was trying to recoup $20 billion of your money from a PNM man who was executive chairman, who took decisions contrary to the good and lost your money, took your money, flitted away. And Kamla was going to get your money, so you didn't have to ride bike now. You didn't have to cook on coal pot. You could have eat ham and pastel, and you could have go flipping movie tongue. Kamla was getting back your money. You know what Rowley did? Rowley, Al-Rawi and Small Pin got together and take the man out of court. The Privy Council laugh at us as a banana republic. You all let that pass. So don't be shocked. The refinery closed, Petrotrin closed down. Why? The McKinsey report, the Solomon report, the Lashley report, $64 million of expert advice. Imagine you go and pay a doctor for $64 million to tell you what to do with your heart, your brain, your colon, and your K-Pax. And when he tell you, well, you have to do X, Y, and Z, you throw away that, and you go by Mother Corn Hawks and say, girl, tell me a prayer. That's what they did. And they shut down Petrotrin, fire 6,344 permanent workers, 5,000 temporary workers, all defense line communities, hairdresser, nail tech, restaurant, But everybody lost money. And only leave damn day. And only didn't stay silent. Now only shock. Oh Lord, Nelson Gate, Nelson Gate. They were always there. They're miscreants from before, during, and after. And the only way to get rid of them is for you all to stop voting for miscreants. The heart, body, soul, and mind of Rowley and the PNM have been continually revealed to you. Now even the politically blind can see that Rowley and his choir of PNM misfits must go. Why did we as a people stay silent as Rowley and the PNM decimated our constitution, our independent institutions, the rule of law, and our democracy? Why did we stay silent? He put up PNM in charge of the EBC, and all they stay silent. If Kamala had put Anil Neeson from the EBC, all they would have been marching, pulling down Sari, running with mannequin all over the place. But you put a PNM Minister Nees and the best friend of the bundles who doing the worst in education, and that's okay because PNM to do that. You stay silent, okay? Shh. Yes, man, always stay silent. When he humbugged the electoral process in 2 elections, taking an extra hour because of the EBC, and then another one without calling election observers, and he lie on the election observers, you all say, shh, it's Rowley, let him cheat. When he went to the Police Service Commission and collapsed it, along with the President of the Republic, you all stay quiet. The independent senators stay quiet. Why? When he got involved and chose his own commissioner of police, and now the earth are run red with blood of our children, all you stay quiet. Why? When he came and he gutted procurement, he interfered with the DPP office now and the Integrity Commission, all you stay silent. Silent. Silence is the aphrodisiac of corruption. We can no longer afford to remain silent. I call upon Transparency International, you're silent. Chambers of Commerce, why are you silent? Law Association, silent. Political scientists, retired public servants. We want a bacchanal fish market because we wanted to get a tribunal to investigate the misbehavior in public office of Rowley, Paula May Weeks, and Bliss C. Prasad in breaching section 123(4) of the Constitution. Independent senators say for bonfire on the PNM, on the UNC, and talking all over in the newspapers. Well, you say no. Silence. No reporter call earlier. Cat got your tongue. Huh? Senior counsel, where all you're silent. Retired judges, what happened? Are they looking for more pension? Huh? Everybody's silent. Law professors, what's going on with this opinion? This breach of the Constitution, breach of the separation of powers, this misbehavior in public office, this inducement and bribery. Silent? What about plot? Powerful woman. Yeah? All you only know when Kamala says something to Tata Kamala, because she's more powerful than all and she gave this country good governance and proper representation for the people across the board. Wait now, we're fixing TNT. TNT fix our. Presidential pardon was offered now by Al-Rawi and Rowley, a presidential pardon. I ask you, Paula May Weeks, how they were able to do that? Did they also discuss that with you on August 11, 2021, when Rowley came to thwart the meritless and whisper in your ears while you was in your duster and had on your slippers? Did you all discuss that? Or did they just take it upon themselves to know that you are pliable, Paula? How they were able to offer a presidential pardon, and in a month's time, the PNM cannot even clean the drains in the ground across the corporations in a month's time, but they're going to give a old bandit, a old thief, a legal prostitute a presidential pardon. President Paula, was it a pliable president that gives confidence to polluted PNM politicians that they could promise a legal prostitute a presidential pardon? How presumptuous. Your cumulative silence is an indictment on our society. Silence is acquiescence. Silence is approval. Silence is corrupt. End the silence. Shout from the mountaintops in one voice. PNM must go. Rowley must go. Elections now. Because the people want indemnity from Rowley, from the PNM, from the corruption, the PNM recusals. The people want indemnity. That indemnity is Kamla. Join the UNC. Come on board. Call the elections early and come and get what is coming to you. As I calm down and wrap up, I must give my people and Trinidad and Tobago some Diwali greetings. Much like the arduous and painful years when Lord Rama was in exile, so too have the people of our beloved country. For the past 7 torturous years, patriotism has been exiled. Racial and religious harmony has been in exile. Truth, transparency, and accountability has been in exile. Propriety, honesty, and good governance have been in exile. Creativity, competence, planning, and implementation have been in exile. Democracy itself has been exiled. But much like Lord Rama, with strength, a sense of unified purpose, perseverance, and prayer, we too can defeat the multi-headed demon, Rawan. Let us all join together to illuminate a clear path to rejuvenation, hope, survival, and success. Let our dears light the path to freedom over tyranny, wisdom over ignorance, humility over arrogance, fulfillment over hunger, truth over lies, hope over despair, light over darkness, all summarized to mean Kamla over Rowley, the UNC over the PNM. May the blessing of Lakshmi Ma fall upon each and every one of you. Namaste.
Welcome to the revolution. People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. We want freedom. Everybody crying out for democracy.
Thank you, Senator Roberts. There can be no doubt about your fearless defense of the people. Our next speaker is a UNC warrior. He is a firebrand in the parliament, on the platforms, and in a few moments you will see why. Brothers and sisters, when the lion roars, everyone listens. Please join me in welcoming to the United National Virtual Platform the Member of Parliament for Urupuch East, Dr. Rudal Munilal.
Yeah. Cause this is the revolution, the people's revolution. This is the revolution. I want to hear everybody sing. Everybody sing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And good evening to all of you assembled in this hall, our supporters, friends, officers. Good evening to the political leader, the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa, parliamentary colleagues, members of the platform, officers of the party, brothers and sisters listening throughout Trinidad and Tobago, viewing on the various social media platforms, supporters in Canada, the United States, England. A very warm welcome to Norbert and friends in Canada and the Surge Valley family in London who's receiving this broadcast at this time. Thank you for waking so late in the night in Europe to hear us. Brothers and sisters, it's a pleasure again to be on the UNC platform and to speak on a few issues. Tonight, in the time assigned to me, I would speak on only 2 issues, key issues, one involving the Police Service Commission and one, of course, involving this unraveling of what is the biggest scandal in 100 years in Trinidad and Tobago, this matter of Vincent Nelson and the Attorney General and the government. There can be no doubt today that Keith Rowley is leading a hand-to-mouth government. This government is living hour by hour. Every single day, we receive more and more frightening expose on what has happened, what has transpired over the last 3 or 4 years. This frightening expose is more terrifying than anything you could hear or you could see during the season of Halloween. I put it to you that this government is limping and dragging their way towards 2023 and 2025, and we believe that the ship of state is now broken and it is sinking piece by piece by piece. The editorial of today begins with the line, "It is hard to escape the feeling that Trinidad and Tobago is being run by a bunch of amateurs so blinded by political ambition that they can no longer distinguish right from wrong and decency from indecency." That is an editorial in the newspaper, national newspaper today. This newspaper awoke, I guess, after a long time, but depicts the crisis that we face today, brothers and sisters. This is a scandal of a lifetime. Every day it is shock and awe. Our children and grandchildren will speak of Nelson Gate for the next 100 years to come. This replaces Johnny O'Halloran and McDonnell Douglas scandal and all of them that went with the PNM before. And the country will owe a debt of gratitude to Kamla Prasad Bisesa and the UNC for exposing this matter. Today the government is tripping on itself. They are tripping on themselves. The Prime Minister wants to disassociate himself from this. He said, I'm not involved in that, cabinet not involved in that. When he said that, I opened my phone and I have some cards there. I take out my ID card because I believe that the Prime Minister think that I born yesterday. So I had to look at my date of birth again. But he think everybody born yesterday. In a matter like this, an indemnity to a star bombshell witness for criminal prosecution against a former Attorney General, former Senator in the Parliament. You tell me the Prime Minister don't know about that? If he don't know about that, then he's a lame duck and he must resign. And if he know about that, then he crooked and he must resign. Brothers and sisters, they have destroyed the economy, and we spoke a lot about that recently. Won't come to that now. Let me get to this Prime Minister. He is in a tangled web. He's in a tangled web. You know, there was a famous poem in 1808 by Sir Walter Scott Kurt, Marmion, that spoke about this. Oh, what a tangled web we weave when first we practice to deceive. What it means is that when you lie and you have to construct more lies, and you construct more lies, and you are finally out of control. Today, this government is out of control because of the lies. So that they have weaved the tangled web, and the Prime Minister is at the center. While Faris Alwari, rightfully, Alwari, is the poster boy for this catastrophe, do not forget, this scandal is tied to the feet of Keith Rowley like a slab of concrete. It is tied to his feet, and he cannot escape. He now has a history of interfering in independent institutions, such as the DPP office. Remember the Police Service Commission, brothers and sisters. Tonight I will just tell you, we have, through the Freedom of Information, lawyers have obtained copies of minutes and notes of the Police Service Commission. Police Service Commission, independent under our Constitution. And would you believe, in one note in November 2021, we have it in our possession. The chairman of the Police Service Commission says in that note, I quote, the cabinet is urging the commission to send Mr. Gary Griffith on administrative leave. Could you imagine that? The cabinet is urging the commission to send Mr. Gary Griffith on administrative leave. They may have that little segment to show on the screen in a few minutes. Based on legal advice and the pending investigation of Justice John. She, however, that's Blissy Prasad, informed the commission that the investigation of John was not a disciplinary process and the commission should not be acting on that request. So the Prime Minister requested from the Service Commission, independent, that they send Gary Griffith home. They throw him out effectively. This is unheard of in a democracy with respect for independent constitutional institutions. This is where we have reached under Keith Rowley. In another note, we learned that the Police Service Commission received a secret report. You know what they call it? A secret, top secret report. Something like something from Get Smart. Or, you know, Inspector Clouseau from the Pink Panther. They have now a secret, top secret report. The commission emphasized, brothers and sisters, that this secret report was of 2 men, but only 1 man signed it. So they wanted to find the next author of the secret report before they consider it. And when they could not find him, they said, well, we cannot consider that report because that report is incomplete. They then asked the Prime Minister why he took so long to bring the report to them. And here is what is minuted. September 2021, here is what is minuted. Quote, the commission emphasized its disgust with the chairman of the National Security Council, who was in possession of documents in March 2021, the secret report, but did not submit to the commission until September 2021 when they were reappointing Gary Griffith. Unquote. Could you imagine that? An independent constitutional institution saying we have expressed disgust with the Prime Minister and Chairman of the National Security Council. Now, we express disgust all the time, but this is a service commission, brothers and sisters. This is what they do. They influence and pollute every single thing around them. Brothers and sisters, on this Nelson matter, I don't have to repeat everything that is in the public domain. Brother Saddam Hussein and Anil Roberts spoke about a few matters, but I will just add one matter which I don't believe has been developed in the public domain as yet. You see, this matter has its genesis when the same lawyer, fella Nelson, he was working under the partnership administration, and there were outstanding monies owed to him when we left office. So he took the government to court and said, well, I want my money. When he gone to court, somebody gone to him and said, brother, don't worry, you could get your money, you know. But here what happened? You had to fabricate some evidence for me. You had to make some statements and so on. He said, all right, if I'm doing that, I'll get the money. This thing began with him saying, don't call my name, don't show my face, don't tell nobody it's me. Look where he reached now. After saying that. But he didn't know was one set of crook dealing with the next set of crook. That's the problem there. There was no virtue in that. My friend, when you sleep with the devil, you cannot roll off the bed. You cannot roll off the bed. When you sell your soul, you cannot buy it back. And this is what happened, this man trying to buy back his soul. So he made a deal that he will make false accusations and statements and so on. And then that led to indemnity and so on. But you know what is amazing with this? Because everybody speaks about the indemnity, and I'm sure others will speak about that. I want to get to one issue quickly. Brothers and sisters, Alwari involvement in that, we know, and we will hear much more about that. But in this matter, it reminds me of an Agatha Christie novel called Murder on the Orient Express. They had 12 suspects, and you know all 12 were guilty. In this matter, Alwari guilty, Stuart Young guilty, Keith Rowley guilty, Fitzgerald Hines between sleep and wake, he guilty. Some other lesser mortal lady or something, she guilty too. Everybody is guilty. This is a matter where the cabinet is guilty. All the suspects, they are guilty. They say, Alwari say he informed Rowley. He said he wake up Hines, inform him, and Hines went back to sleep, like Kumkaran. So, this is the case we find. Nelson, and the numbers are in the newspapers. I won't waste time calling it. When you read the numbers, $500 from taxpayers to pay fees in England, $360 to pay local lawyers, $360,000 to attend court. Imagine he get money to attend court in Trinidad. When they charge me, we just have to go for free. Brothers and sisters, the taxpayer paying Nelson, his English lawyers, they're paying for hotel room, for food. Now we want $100 million more pursuant to his quote-unquote agreement. $790,000 for medical costs. The poor fella, they take away license in England. He want a driver too, because he can't drive now. So brothers and sisters, he collected millions and millions of taxpayers' dollars that we knew nothing about. How, under what circumstance, you could make a deal with this? This is inducing a witness to give testimony against your political opponents. Clear and simple. Anyone can see that. Now the latest we hear, this fella might be in Italy. I don't know if we have an extradition treaty. We have one? We have no extradition treaty with Italy. So he take all the money that Rowley, Alwari, Stuart Young give him. At this time, this fella could be sipping, Jolene, he could be sipping Prosecco while gliding atop a gondola, meandering through the canals of Venice, listening to O Sole Mio. Courtesy Alwari Kewal Singh Young Rowley. Taxpayers' money mining he in Italy to drink fine wine. I don't brag about expensive places I go to. The most expensive place I just go to is a gas station in Trinidad. Some millions of dollars spent, and Rowley tell us cabinet not involved in that? How you could pay millions of dollars without cabinet or minister of finance involvement? How? We have been in government. We have been in government. Anytime you want to spend over a certain amount, small sum, you better bring a note to cabinet and get approval. Huh? So they are trying to, they believe we never see government in real life. So brothers and sisters, the Attorney General has filed a defense. Hear this one. He said he filed, former Attorney General, on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago, but the head of government don't know nothing. But he filed on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. Amazing, when you read this document, he says, look here, I agree to this indemnity for Nelson and so on. And he agrees that without that indemnity, they would never have gotten all the false accusations, false statements, false testimony to go after Ram Logan and Ramdeen. He admits that. But he said, listen, that thing about breaching the agreement is not me. Stuart Young do it. So listen, they have to go by PTSC and buy bus because every day they throw in somebody else under the bus. Every day. They have to get more bus to throw people under it. Alwari say Stuart Young did it. The Gary Sobers of the government. He gave the statement on Young and mash-up agreement and so on. Young sell out the case. This is bizarre. But you know what is even worse? I want to tell you, we did our research, as you know we will. Nothing hides really from us for too long. On March 2nd, 2020, on British Airways flight 2158, departing Piaco to London Gatwick with a stopover in St. Lucia. 2 passengers of interest were on that plane, Stuart Young and Vincent Nelson. Now, if you are the Minister of National Security, you must know, Special Branch will tell you when you go anywhere, who is people of interest, who will be there. And a man like Nelson on the plane, and you don't know that? And you traveling with him on the same plane? If it was me, I would have run down in the back by seat to 47E. Or I would have taken a parachute and jump off one time, because that is trouble. But here it is, in the documents we have read, Stuart Young was on the flight. Nelson alleges that Young left his seat and journeyed to Nelson's seat to converse. This is a man Young knows to be a bombshell witness in a criminal case against political opponents. Brothers and sisters, he goes to Nelson to converse. Converse about what? What you want to find out? What is the weather like in London so you could wear the appropriate clothes? What you going there for? What are they serving? You want to know the menu? He goes to Nelson on the plane, and Nelson tells him, Nelson is a legend, he said, listen boy, hear how they're talking, eh? As if they are so body, chubby, body. He said, Alwari tell me is, you tell me out. You send the report, the notarized statement to the NCA, National Crime Agency. Young replies, me, as a lawyer, I won't be stupid because I know that will be a breach of the agreement. So he knew about it. Brothers and sisters, if this is true, what did Young, minister in the office of the Prime Minister, former minister in the Attorney General office, and at that time, Minister of National Security, what business you have talking to a state witness like this on a plane? And what else did you say? When you stroll to converse with him, what is that? That is improper, it is unlawful, and the police of Trinidad and Tobago must now get a statement from Stuart Young on this matter. I remind you, remember this same TTPS under PNM administration, they suspended, arrested, and charged a former Chief Justice because he was on a plane, and they allege that he spoke to a lawyer. Chief Justice talked to a lawyer. You know, they arrest you already and throw you in jail. Today, government minister speaking to witness in criminal matter against political opponents in Trinidad. I want to see what they will do about this. Young has no business, brothers and sisters, approaching. Many of us, this is a small island. Sometimes we go to a function, wedding or funeral or something, and a judge or something there. We move away, we don't even want to say hello, because then one talk will lead to 2 talk, and next thing the judge hearing a matter involving somebody, and that is a family or something. You have to exercise a high level of discretion in this business. And Stuart Young must explain why was he conversing discuss who sends statement to who. That is the point, brothers and sisters. But Young is issuing statement yesterday. My advice to Stuart Young, as Anil says, small pin. I don't know why, but my advice to him is when you're in quicksand, don't make any sudden move. When you're in quicksand, you mustn't make any sudden move because you will go further down. So it begs several questions about this sordid affair. What did Young do on that plane? And that is something we will continue to speak about in the days ahead. We cannot allow that to happen. And the final point I make is that in all those correspondence as well, the indemnity we are told, and we have seen it somewhere, must be leaked somewhere, was this indemnity received by a police officer, Harold Phillips? Was this received by the police? The police have no business in indemnity. They work with the DPP, who is in charge of plea bargain and agreement, not Alwari and Young and Rowley. When Phillips got this, did he take it to the DPP and say, boss, what is this about? This is wrong. Did he continue to investigate with this indemnity in his hand? That is improper, it is unlawful, it is illegal. The Plea Bargaining Act, brothers and sisters, the Criminal Procedure, Plea Discussion and Plea Agreement, Chapter 1307, create an offense for police officers to aid or abet an improper inducement to encourage an accused person to participate in plea discussion. The police may have committed criminal offenses that carries $25,000 fine and 5 years in jail. Who is going to call the police to account? This is the same police, brothers and sisters, that are working with SRP in England, SRP Kate, and others who Rowley made SRP so they could come and participate in criminal investigation against UNC ministers and officials. That is illegal. There's a matter in the court now that you cannot use SRPs for criminal investigation because they are not police officers according to the Police Act and the Constitution. They are not impartial. They are not independent. They cannot participate in police work like that. They have to call out in case you have a riot and an earthquake and a thunderstorm and so on. They cannot be investigating criminal conduct. Rowley has done this. And in the next few weeks and months, you will hear much more about this matter. But you wonder now, will they bring SRP Kate to investigate Stuart Young? Would they do this? And I would leave you with the final note. You see, in May 2019, we have it from good source, it is there. And we check travel itinerary and everything already, so don't worry. When we talk, we don't check immigration and customs and everybody. A delegation left this country, Rowley, Stuart Young, Franklin Kahn. They said they're going to visit Shell in Holland, but they were passing through London to and from. In May 2019, government officials met the English lawyer, Kate McMahon, or what's her name, and her team in the Mayfair Hotel. Kurt, you know what I'm thinking. The Mayfair Hotel in London. They met there and had discussions on prosecuting and persecuting political opponents of the PNM. That is information we got from somebody who was in the delegation. And he was so outraged and disgusted. He reported it to people in Trinidad and Tobago. And he said that he was so disgusted because he himself was a victim of what he called political prosecution by colleagues in the PNM. And he raised that matter in Trinidad. Today I asked Stuart Young if he's aware of government officials meeting SRP Kate and others in May 2019 in a hotel, Mayfair Hotel in London, England, where they were plotting to target officials of the UNC and former ministers of the partnership government. I leave you with that. On the next occasion, with a little more time, we will speak about the mosquito crack. We have to speak about that, and don't forget it. And we will speak about Balize House. The construction of Balize House is linked to the mosquito crack. You won't believe that, but it is linked to the mosquito crack. And we will announce the name of contractors who have contributed and donated to the construction of Balize House. And Jolene, when we are finished with that house, we will take that house and open a home for the homeless in Port of Spain and a soup kitchen. Balize House eventually will be a place for vagrants to go because it has always been a place for vagrants. So thank you all. God bless you. Shub Diwali. Love you all.
Welcome to the revolution. People crying out for justice. Some of them crying out for freedom. Want freedom. people's revolution.
Thank you, Dr. Munilal. In addition to her decades of corporate management experience, our next speaker is a UNC veteran. She has previously served as a UNC government minister, and today she proudly serves as an opposition senator and UNC deputy political leader. Known for her high-energy approach, we are happy to have her here with us tonight. Please welcome to the UNC virtual platform, the one and only Senator Jerlene John.
Here everybody sing, everybody sing freedom. Man and woman sing freedom. Everybody sing freedom. Everybody sing. As we move in this people's revolution, my brothers and sisters.
Thank you very much, brothers and sisters. And after that high energy, I have to bring it down, eh? I don't know. If it is, we go any higher, we'll float. We'll float. We'll touch the edge of space, all right? And we are no Elon Musk here. So tonight, I really want to thank the speakers which came before me. I don't think we could have had a better lineup. So thank you all so much. Now, over the past, the last 2 weeks, your UNC leader of the opposition, MPs and senators have been debated and voted no to the 2023 budget, which we found to be morally and economically wrong. Because speakers on the UNC side have said over and over that the only institution standing between Trinidad and Tobago and complete dictatorship today is the UNC. I repeat it tonight. Were it not for the United National Congress, Trinidad and Tobago would have been a place you did not recognize. You might have thought that we all spoke or had some kind of meeting prior to this meeting based on the trajectory of the various presentations. We had not. It is just that we have come to a particular point in our history, an inflection point in our history. And this morning, and Dr. Munilal has spoken about it, and I think Senator Roberts, when I saw that Express editorial, I couldn't believe it. I think it is the worst editorial I've ever seen written about anybody or anything in the history of this country. In the history of this country. So I want to repeat it again because it was a wake-up call. Dr. Munal did read the first paragraph, and that's the one I'm going to read. It is hard to escape the feeling that Trinidad and Tobago is run by a bunch of amateurs so blinded by political ambition that they can no longer distinguish right from wrong and decency from indecency. Man, that is what you call wood. Dr. Munilal will tell you what kind, you know. I am not so familiar with that. I don't have that kind of expertise. I wish I could have said the Express is prophetic, but I thank them at last coming to that realization. It took over 7 years for the blind to see, right? And Senator Roberts will talk about Mother Cornux. I don't know if it's Mother Cornux that lay hand on them, but they're seeing. Because we know Rowley had attracted absolutely no talent or competence in that cabinet. Only a bunch of hustlers who soon figured out how to leverage the cabinet for their personal gain through recusal, to the recusal scam. And to keep the hustle going, they weaponize the same cabinet again against those who do not share their point of view. Much damage has been done to this republic, and we hope and pray it is not irreversible. But we know that some days, very soon, not in the distant future, it will end up in the lap of Kamla Prasad Bisesa to set this ship of Trinidad and Tobago back on course. So today we cannot point to one single institution, and every single speaker would have spoken about that, which has not been polluted by this PNM. So the express statements can be applied to their use of the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. Amateurs blinded by political ambition who just don't know right from wrong. Many times we raise the alarm in the Parliament. I mean, I saw Senator Lachmdial, you know, because when they bring legislation, you just look at it and you know they're targeting somebody. That has a name in law. It's called ad hominem legislation. That is when they work backward. They know who. You know, it's like Nelson say, how people does lie. You don't have to, you go make a suit sick and non-correct. You know, you don't need to see the person, just showing the place where the fella passed. That is them. They just have to see the person, and they're going to make a lie to suit that. And that is how we come up with this ad hominem legislation. When we see it, we start to shake because we just know who they are targeting. So when you see the UNC has stood in the gap, whether we believe that legislation that is ad hominem and unjustly targets the young men from Beetham or Laventille or Cocorito or Never Dirty, whomever we believe to be unjustly targeted, we refuse to support any setup because it is just lazy, cynical, and plain wrong. We advise them to bring good law, empower the police and judiciary, and let the wheels of justice turn independently. Again tonight, you will have heard about, because it's a trajectory. Everybody, we are all aware of what they have done. The office of the president, when we spoke up about the merit list, which the Prime Minister intercepted at the President's house, how do we know he intercepted it? Because he told us he saw nothing wrong with that. To say, we didn't have to ask, he just said, it's me. I targeted. I went and I took that merit list. I did not allow it to go, take the natural trajectory to go to the Parliament, and there I will stand up like a man and say, I don't want him, I don't want him. He interfered with that. And then there are those who wanted us to turn a blind eye. They wanted us to turn a blind eye, and we paid a price. We were sanctioned. You know why? I don't know if you remember in 2009 and 2010, when they said there were banks that were too big to fail, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, they said we had to prop them up, they're too big to fail. According to them, the president, Miss Paula May, was too big to fail. So we had to keep our mouth shut and not do anything. But did we? We did not. We did not. And as the speakers before me have said, they have polluted every single independent office, all because they are vicious and dangerous. They do no work, care about no one, fly up and down all over the world, wasting taxpayers' money, whilst 9-year-old Jomo Mitchell is today waiting to be buried, robbed of his future because of P&M politics. So UNC, we did not get here by guess. Rowley is a man who went to the Parliament filled with passion, and he told Trinidad and Tobago that the provision of laptops were foolhardy, his exact words. He's resulting in thousands being left without a device during that whole pandemic, the period of pandemic. We are now living with the results, the fallout of the P&M decision. This after, our UNC government would have gone about ensuring that every child could have gotten a place in the secondary school system. When oil was $9 a barrel, what happened under UNC government? We had dollar for dollar because the UNC believes in education. We believe education is the way out of poverty. We don't leave anybody behind. You see, so when KPB was Prime Minister, everybody who wanted a job could have accessed one. For 2 long years of pandemic, parents were leaving their cell phones at home for their children to do some semblance of work. And now we are wondering why young people walking around like a shell of themselves, cold, calculating, callous, and vicious, because we left them with, like the devil, with idle hands. And you know what happens with idle hands. And just before my time runs out, I want to talk about another institution, because there are so many. There is none that they did not pollute. The Election and Boundaries Commission. You will recall that in 2021, last year was 2021? Well, yes, early in 2021, 25th of January to be exact, there was an election of the THA. What was the result? 6-6. You would have thought this elder statesman of a prime minister, I'm not saying he is, that he would have gone to Tobago and said, listen, younger people, because they said, you take chief secretary, you take secretary for finance, that he would have said, in the interest of the Tobago people, we will manage this THA until such time. No, he didn't want that. He found himself back in the Parliament in under 1 month. What was he doing here? He moved to amend the 2 pieces of legislation to move the number of electoral seats from 12 to 15 in the blink of an eye. Now, this thing don't happen by guess, Every 4 years, there is a report coming out of the Election and Boundaries Commission which tells you how many seats they should have in Tobago. And from 2012, it was 12. 2016, 12. 2020, 12, which 2020 report was to treat with the 2021 elections. You know, right after that, not too long, they got, the Prime Minister by way of legislation, instructed the independent EBC, and they are independent under the Constitution, you know. Chapter 70 of the Constitution tells the EBC, you independent. So they may have to beg nobody. So when the Prime Minister showed up and said, I want to move from 12 to 15 seats, all they said is, yes, darling. There's no resistance. They just went ahead and created 12 seats, thinking that they were going to win that election. But you know what happened? You know what happened? The PDP won 14 seats because the devil and all don't like ugly. The devil don't like ugly. You know, it just couldn't work. So, I mean, as I said in the preamble, it has that the EBC is very, very independent. So their independence is anchored, is protected by statute. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, there was no provision in law for the EBC to act on the Prime Minister's wishes or political ambitions. Therefore, Act number 2 of 2021 was equivalent to simidimi and hocus pocus because it had no basis in law. And as the leader of the opposition told them at the time, it was illegal and unconstitutional. All that time, we were like voices crying in the wilderness. Nobody will listen until the Express woke up this morning. And what did they say? They said, I have it here, it is hard to escape the feeling that Trinidad and Tobago is being run by a bunch of amateurs, so blinded by political ambition that they can no longer distinguish right from wrong and decency from indecency. Martin Daly, as they say, of Senior Counsel, he said, I am yet to understand the constitutional basis on which the government could require the EBC to make boundary changes in Tobago simply in order to break the 6-6 electoral tie that occurred in January. Fortunately, the legitimacy of an election and the pushback of the people of Tobago against being force-fed with legislative changes triumphed against another possible compromise of the constitutional principle. You all see what we are fighting against? We have been fighting this battle. Every single institution, they will just put their hands into it, irrespective of the law or just common decency. So Sunday morning, I was having my customary walk on Chancellor, and when I got to the bottom, there was a gentleman I knew who also walked. He was there, and I saw him next to his car. Someone in the broad daylight had shattered the left back glass of the car. And he said they had stolen the $160. $160 he had put away in the car to go and purchase something for lunch, for his Sunday meal. His friend who had stopped to console him said, yeah, you see what PNM do to you? This scene of hardship and being victim of crimes is played out so many times in every 24-hour cycle as the manifestation of what PNM, in their mad evil crave for power, has done to you, the citizens. Just like 9-year-old Jamal Modest, also known as MJ, fatally shot in Enterprise on Saturday night. And he was among a number of people and children that people just feel that they could just come and open gunshot, kill this little boy. So UNC and citizens, that is what PNM has done by way they have chosen to run this country. A bunch of amateurs blinded by political ambition who can no longer distinguish from right or wrong. They ensured that 9-year-old Jamal Modest was not safe in the playground. If Jamal is not safe on a playground, where can he be safe? I'm saying tonight without fear of contradiction that the PNM and their policies killed Jamal Modest as if they had pulled that fatal trigger. Because as the Express editorial states, the buck stops with whom? The Prime Minister. The buck stops right there. So, we know it has been a long time in coming. And Martin Luther King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Last week, when we were debating in the parliament, suddenly, somebody on the PNM side, they started to talk about Mr. Manning. I don't know what they're seeing. You know, they forgot that he was the one that their current leader had said he went to Lekito to look for Obia 4. They forgot that. They forgot that. They're pretending as if their mind has been erased. But I want to also quote something. I remembered Mr. Manning was in a debate, and he was in the opposition, and he was under pressure. And he got up, and he said, quoted from a poem by Sophocles. He said, "We cannot comment on how the day has been until we have seen the evening." Brothers and sisters, UNC, the evening is here, and PNM is on the run. They're on the run. They are seeing the evening, because it's only in the evening they could look back to see what they have done. And we need to keep that pressure on, because we need justice. Don't forget those 4 young men who they left to die. That is what all of this means, a bunch of amateur blinded by political ambition. When you are so blinded and you don't know right and wrong, you leave people to die in pipe, under the sea, miles under the sea. Right? We need justice for people like Andrea Barrett and others who were victims of rapes and vicious murders. We need that justice, and we cannot rest, because if there is no justice, there is absolutely no peace. We have to keep pressing on. We need justice for single mothers who are invisible to the PNM, big donors. You heard Dr. Mulal talking about their massive edifice. And their man, Rohan Sinanan, said that it was given to them by donors. Well, I want to tell our political leader tonight, because he was saying that UNC rent in, and they have a big building because of donors. He told us that to our faces. I want to tell our leader tonight, I, Jolene John, and I'm sure all of you here, prefer to go out and talk every night under a lamppost outside here with a flambeau than to have any donors give us any big building. We don't want it. We don't want it. Let them take that money to Riverside Plaza. Let them take it to St. Vincent de Paul. Let them take it to Lost Peace, because if they continue, they might very well lose their peace. They might very well lose their peace. People out there are suffering, and they need help. So we must fight that not another child will die whilst playing on the playground in this country. UNC, the road is long and hard, but we running, and the PNM is on the run. And as sure as night follows day, the sun will rise again. I thank you so much.
If you cry, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are one people under the sun. One nation under the law. So who feel the black? Who feel the black? Who feel the white? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's right till tonight to feel the wrong. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright, let me jump up, let me wind up, party non-stop. Ramage dingo leke kete, we come to play mass. Every creed and class, don't let nothing pass. La carreti tive, all the love inside the way.
First woman Prime Minister, first woman Attorney General, first woman to chair the Commonwealth of 54 nations. First woman opposition leader. Welcome KPB Plus. Solid everywhere.
Thank you all very much. I can feel the energy. Can you feel it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? UNC family and friends and others, because I know they listen to us every time we speak. Because before the night ends, during the night, when we leave here, I see them on the Facebook, commenting, talking, belly boiling, because they are afraid. When you do wrong, you know you've done wrong. You've done wrong, and you will always be afraid, because you will be exposed. So, UNC family and friends and others, I say good evening to you. Good evening to all of you. Let me commend our young councillors who have been sharing with us tonight, Kimmy and Krishna. Let me comment on and commend the brilliant lineup of speakers here tonight. MP Saddam Hussein. Saddam, we had a joke, you know, when we first met. He's a young lawyer, you know. He said, yes, my name is Saddam, but not that Saddam. I'm the Trinidad Saddam Hussein. And he's proud of his name and proud of who he is. I'm proud of Saddam. Give him a round of applause. Let me also commend, boy, you can't stop him, Andy Roberts, our senator. I cannot say as much as we'd like to say about Anil, but he's a great human being, and I'm proud of him too. UNC and proud. Well, what can I say about our other speaker, Dr. Munilal? If it's one thing, you don't lose interest when he's speaking. Sometimes your ear turns off a little, and then one word. I said tonight, well done, Dr. Munilal. Proud of you too. I said that was a bodo, like knockout punch tonight. And of course, my sister, Senator Jaylene John, brilliant, hardworking, dedicated. I'm so proud of her. And whilst I congratulate all our speakers here tonight and all of you who have joined us, I want to say a word. We've just come out of the Senate, as you know, and before that out of the House, where the debate on the budget took place. And every single UNC member of Parliament, every single senator contributing to that debate, they were so brilliant in prosecuting the case on behalf of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And in that debate and in that budget, the government blatantly demonstrated their contempt for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. They brought no ideas for growth. They brought no plans for creating jobs. They brought no plans for revenue streams. Money, you have to get money to create jobs, to run a country. No plans. Instead, what did they do? Instead of a blueprint to move our nation into the future, they want to take us backwards. And that's how they always govern, you know. They govern watching in the rearview mirror. They will talk about things that happened under the partnership years ago. With all this bacchanal going on in the country, and with so much pain and suffering in the country, this man, Keith Christopher Rowley, jumps on a platform and talks about some Alutrint. Well, it didn't even last in the news. Where one day, somebody, Alutrint and the partnership shut down the project. Hey, whose project was that? That was a Manning P&M project. And when we came into office, the court had ruled that the CEC was not valid, so the project could not go forward. But they are so in the rearview mirror, so backward, never forward thinking. They cannot get out of us, out of their thoughts. They can't take us out. I saw a gentleman who really doesn't write very nicely about the UNC and me in the newspaper on the weekend, a columnist. He said that Kamala is occupying space in Rowley brain rent-free. They are so preoccupied with us, obsessed. Because they know at the end of the day, as Jaylene tells us, you don't know what is the day until you come to the evening. At the end of the day, the partnership government, the UNC-led partnership government is the best that this country has ever had. Best that we have. So they're always looking backwards, never forward. And just when you think the budget of betrayals was the worst thing the PNM could do, we now have this sordid affair. It's so mild to term it. I see people say Nelson Gate and Farris Gate and so on. Whatever it is, whatever happened, that is a scandal of the highest order that stinks to high heavens. That was and is the biggest scandal to ever hit this country. In all the years of the nation of Trinidad and Tobago, that is the worst you can see, where people in high office use your taxpayers' dollars, use the resources of the state to persecute and prosecute people because of political spite, malice, and ill will. And what it is also, they're just jealous of Ramdeen and Ram Logan, you know. Farris could tell you which case he ever win. I win case against Farris. He could ever tell you? No. But those guys have a lineup of cases they've won and will continue to win. So there's also that petty jealousy in addition to the malice, spite, and ill will on the part of persons who will do anything to hold on to power. That's what that is. to hold on to political power. And as the entire nation knows, as we all know in that budget of betrayals, Rowley told us that the country cannot subsidize fuel. Raise the price again. How many times they've raised the price of fuel in this country? They cannot subsidize fuel for the poor, for the vulnerable, for the working class, the middle class. But they had millions to pay to a fraudster known as Vincent Nelson. Millions of your dollars. It's all over the newspapers. I think all weekend, all week, that's all over. Everything is out there. As they say, what happens in the dark always comes to light. And so when it comes to persecuting, when it comes to working people in this country, they have no money. They cut down the food cards. They cut down the laptops. They cut down everything that is for the benefit of the vulnerable in our country. But billions being paid to their lawyer friends. Billions being paid, and I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. So the information over this weekend clearly points to a conspiracy on the part of high-ranking PNM officials. And others have spoken to erode the rule of law, to erode the Constitution, to erode our democracy, and to bring a nation on its knees. That is their aim, so that they could stay where really up in charge. Stay in power, that's what it is. So they've broken every rule of law. They've tampered and trampled upon and trespassed upon the Constitution, which is a fundamental doctrine for separation of powers. Fundamental doctrine for assuring that you have your rights. Your family have their rights. We all have rights based on our Constitution. It tells us this is the sovereign law of the land. And the Supreme Court is the guardian of the Constitution. And we'll come back to that again. Because every institution, I told you, has been trampled upon, trespassed, damaged. It seems as though they're hell-bent on destroying the nation we know as Trinidad and Tobago. And now I'm saying to you, Mr. Rowley, you cannot lie your way out of this mess now. Not again. You cannot do it. We will not stand for it. We'll continue to expose you. We'll continue. And this matter, my friends, is no longer about Ramdeen and Ram Logan, you know. Please understand that, you know. Don't get carried away, you know. It is no longer about Anna and Ram Logan and Gerald. This is about the PNM government. They have no qualms about breaking the law. They will not pause for cause. They will trample, as I say, on our independence and our justice system to persecute their enemies. So it's not about Anna and Gerald. It's about every one of us. It is about all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Tomorrow could be you. Tomorrow could be a journalist. Tomorrow could be an editor. Tomorrow could be a policeman. Tomorrow could be a taxi driver. It could be any person in this land, because they do not care as long as they hold on to power. That is what it is for them. They do not see governance about being for the people, of the people, and by the people. For them, governance is the power and the dollars. A fistful of dollars for their friends and their families and their financiers. So listen, it could be, as we have seen, the Police Service Commission. It could be a pundit, an imam, or a priest. I want you to understand that. Anyone who speaks a language different from them, or when I say a language, speaks the truth, or speaks a different opinion, they will come for you. It could be a student outside the gates of UWI protesting. It could be anyone. Anyone and everyone in danger now from a wicked and evil PNM government. Wicked and evil. Let's look at the timeline on the crime. Can we look at that? Many have spoken. But I think people get sometimes, there's so many agreements and deals that went down, people get a little confused. So let's first understand, we have three kinds of agreements, if you want to call them. You have the indemnity. We heard about that, we read about it. That's one. Then there was a plea bargain deal. Yes? And then you have a third one now, the civil claim in the courts. So I think one of you said it tonight. This all began way back when Nelson was doing legal briefs for the government of Trinidad and Tobago under the partnership. When the government changed they refused to pay Nelson outstanding fees. Refused to pay because maybe even then they had hatched this conspiracy. And so what they did, Nelson filed a matter in court. Who was his lawyer? The fellow who supposedly bought the Porsche, Iwer Singh, and others. So he filed for $10 million in backwards legal fees from the 2010 to 15 period. They went to court. There was a preliminary point that was taken, and they won the point, Nelson and his team. And then the state, now, who is the state? Faris Al-Rawi, the AG, appealed the matter. And whilst the appeal is pending, Faris gone down by Iwer Singh's house, as others told you, for what? To broker this conspiracy and this deal. To tell Iwer Singh and to offer to Nelson, listen fellas, if Nelson will come and make statements against Ramdeen and Ram Logan, you know what? We will pay you. That's the first point. So what did they do? They withdrew the appeal and paid him the $10 million. In return, they brokered the indemnity, which came first. We will indemnify you. You come and tell your lies about these fellows, so we could prosecute them in a criminal court. But the man said, look, I don't trust you guys, you know. And he's very right not to trust them. Set of crooks, all of them, everyone. Hustlers and crooks, all of them. Yeah, and he might be one too. He might be one. I'll give him that. He might be. So he said, no, no, no. You have to indemnify me. I will give you a notarized statement. And this is the third document I'm speaking of. So people know of the indemnity. Then you have the notarized statement. And then in the end, then you had the plea bargain. Do you understand me? So it's three different things. So I saw even today in one of the reports, they mixed up the indemnity with the notarized statement. So he said, okay, I'll do a notarized statement. I'll set out all these things there. This one told me, who told me what and where and when. Here say this and them say. He does the notarized statement. He says, but I'm not going to give you this. And what happens? Indemnity kicks in. And indemnity, you know, all that Faris didn't give that man in that indemnity was his Porsche. That's the only thing he didn't give him, the Porsche. He gave his lawyer the Porsche instead. Thank you, Kivan. Gave the lawyer the Porsche. That's what it was. So, here we are now. They breached the agreement. Others told you reading. Stuart Young said it wasn't him. And he had a duty on all kind of duty. But he was the one. We know it is Stuart Young who sent the notarized statement to the NCA, the National Criminal Agency in London. So in that, he breached terms of the agreement, indemnity agreement. In that, as I said, indemnify the man. They wouldn't tell the British people nothing. They wouldn't tell anybody locally or foreign. Nowhere they'll tell you nothing. They wouldn't share with the British. They wouldn't share with anybody. What happened? They shared it. He lost his license. What happened after that? Lost his license. He couldn't practice. So he's claiming now damages for loss of income from now until 2028 or something, in the sum of about 12 million pounds, 120 million TT dollars. He's claiming indemnity for the taxes, because the British say, wait, you collect all this money. You don't know you have to pay tax, and them foreigners, they don't make joke with tax, you know that. You didn't pay your taxes, so now you have to pay taxes. So he's claiming now, through the indemnity, taxes as well. I think he's claiming some medicals, and I think Rudy told you what, driver and whatever and whatever and whatever. As I say, everything for us gave the indemnity, except, well, you told me he gave the Porsche to the lawyer. That's where the state of play was. And the case collapsed because DPP now. You know, in every dark cloud, they said there's always a silver lining. And today I am very proud to say that there's always someone or some persons who will stand up for what is right. Isn't that true? The silver lining has been that the Director of Public Prosecutions refused, as rightly so, to have any part of this conspiracy. And therefore, when the day or the night seems too dark, there is always that silver lining, that someone and something, and of course I say, God don't sleep, only wears pajamas. And so that time will come. And so the DPP stood up and said, this case cannot continue. It is so heavily compromised. And by whom? By the highest office holders in the land. So what madness it is then for this AG, then AG. He has placed you and me and every taxpayer in this country and every citizen of this country at heavy financial exposure and risk because of the matter pending in the court filed by Nelson. Can you believe, do you know who filed that case? In February of this year, the case was filed by none other than another PNM MP. So there's in addition to the ones they've named, there's another PNM MP who is a lawyer. That's the Coal Pot man. The Coal Pot man himself. I think he should jump on a bicycle and ride to the nearest police station right now. He should. Just jump on a bicycle. I don't know if the bicycle could hold him, but he could try, he could try. So, Mr. Keith Scotland filed that claim on behalf of Nelson when? In or about February this year. And then, like Nelson smelled a rat. So Nelson then sent an email, and I have the copy here. Somewhere in May, Nelson sent an email. Let me find it. I think it's interesting for me to read it. Yes. That's a Coal Pot man, you know. Remember? Backwards ever. So I have this email, a copy of it here. Let me see if the camera could pick it up. Are we getting it? Good. We'll send it to the media, don't worry. If you can't read it, I will read it here for you now. Okay? So this email from Vincent Nelson has his email address. Date, 26 May 2022. To Keith Scotland. Subject, your retainer, Nelson versus AG. And you understand what a retainer is, and Nelson retained him to file the case for him. So in May now, here is this, from Vincent to Keith. Dear Keith, now this is not Keith Rowley, yeah? This is Keith Scotland. Yes, we could make sure we don't mix them up. Dear Keith, as you're aware from our many conversations, I have some concerns regarding the conflict of interest you may have in this matter. This concern has grown considerably over the last few weeks. I have therefore decided that it is in my best interests and peace of mind to terminate the retainer with immediate effect. I'm in the process of appointing alternative lawyers. They will write to you in the forthcoming days, as they're required to do under the Legal Profession Act. I would like to thank you for your efforts on my behalf. Kind regards, Vincent. The person who filed the civil case against Faris Alwari in February this year was none other than Coal Pot Keith Scotland. None other. A PNM sitting MP. So it's another one who knew. Another one of them who knew. Then Nelson fired him because he says, I feel you have a conflict of interest. Yes. So since February, Mr. Scotland is sitting on this matter. Filed the matter, then they changed the lawyers and so on. We have, there are other lawyers in the case now. And why is it that you think Scotland would have filed this matter? I can only speculate. And come along with me. Let's speculate together. Keith Scotland is a member of the sitting government. Nelson comes to him and says, listen, man, the fellas don't want to pay me my money. They broke the indemnity. Look, I lost my license up in England. I can't practice again. I have no money. So let's put them under some pressure. So Scotland will file it, but say nothing, do nothing, hear no evil, see no evil. And it sits there from February down the road to now, when everything exploded and came out in the open. Scotland, then, I know you could tell us, Mr. Scotland, was there another conspiracy for you all to put pressure on the Minister of Finance to release monies to pay this man? I don't know the story, you know. I think Rudy told you about it. You don't just spend money like that. You don't just pay out money. And the question comes back, why would they have paid the 6.6 million to Kewal Singh and others to go and defend Nelson? And what you said, Rudy? When you somebody get charged, they had to go to court free. This man getting paid to go to court. He getting paid, taxpayers, the odd dollars. But they can't find money to give the children food meals, to give laptops, to give... They just can't find to help those in need. They help themselves. So Scotland files the case, sits on it. And I think that may have been, I'm asking for a friend, I'm just asking, whether that was just to place some pressure, not on Faris, because Faris knew what he had done. Faris admits he's the one involved in making this indemnity. He has admitted openly. Not Faris. For Faris to put pressure on some of his other colleagues to get the money, to pay Nelson, and then case pulled back and everything, done. I don't know. Mr. Colpott, we are asking you. I really don't know. So that's what happened then. And now, I saw the Express editorial today. And the heading for that, it says, so now we just spoke it. Mutually assuring destruction. Mutually assuring destruction. Mad. That's what it means, mad. All of this is pure, total madness going on in the highest offices of the land. And all of this would have remained secret, as I say, if the DPP did not step out and do his duty. Do his duty. So I'm saying the rule of law is the foundation on which any democratic society must rely. An impartial and blind justice system is essential to every democracy. We know that there are many ways, many flaws with our justice system. It is not perfect, but it is predicated on universal precepts which cannot be ignored. These include being judged innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. What the PNM has done is undermine the entire justice system to erode all confidence the public has that they can be given a free trial. Because if you could stoop to these lengths to deal with your political opponents, what you'll do for an ordinary person? I know there's somebody, Arnold remind me, there's a minister, they call him, some worker at Wassa. What did he do to that worker? What?
Yes, he persecuted him and asked them to change the evidence on him.
Yes?
Because he drove around picking fine, he should not drive a pickup.
He should not drive a pickup. Ordinary man working at Wassa, persecuted, prosecuted, because some minister didn't like him. And in that case, the silver lining was there, and it was reminding me, the investigator held firm. So that's what they've done. Any government that is willing to break the law, as that former Attorney General and his cohorts, is a government that will break any law, that will tell any lie, as I say, to do what? Stay in power. If we allow the PNM to get away with this, then we might as well tear up our constitution. You might as well give up your passport and head somewhere else for refuge in some other country. But I'm not leaving. This is my land. I will not leave. And together we will stay and we'll fight this wicked, evil government. We have to do it. We must do it. Because if we don't, then what will happen? As the PNM continues to take over or dismantle the judicial system, crime continues to rampage throughout our country. JJ spoke about a young boy, the 9-year-old boy was shot when? In a playground, man. In a playground, you cannot even be safe. Playground. You cannot be safe anywhere. We are almost on track now to about 600 murders for this year. The highest we've ever seen. And I want to boast and say proudly, my government brought down the murder rate to the lowest in decades. We brought it down. And all of this is because the PNM, led by Rowley, his band of jokers, I think JJ called them from the Express, amateurs, They are focused on persecuting the UNC and political opponents, while everybody else is slaughtered in cold blood, in broad daylight. A father over this weekend, what did we see? In addition to that 9-year-old child, and all our condolences and prayers go to the family. In addition to that child, a father was stabbed and killed in his own home in Gasparilla in front of his wife and children. Drive-by shooting leaves 3 wounded in Laventille. A woman was shot in her chest in another drive-by shooting in Diego Martin. And so we can go on and on with this. The numbers and the murders. And by the way, I heard JJ mention the late Andrea Barrett. What has happened to the pepper spray? Big hurrah, hurrah. All over. Then Farris was AG, boasting and going and crying. Crocodile tears everywhere. Yes, we bring in the pepper spray. We pass the legislation. Up to today, no pepper spray. Why? Why you allow our women or children or vulnerable to be slaughtered without protection for themselves? Why? No pepper spray. They don't care. They just do not care as long as they hold on to power. That's all they care about, power. What is the TTPS doing? They remain very crippled, that TTPS. I feel sorry for them, because there are many good officers in that TTPS. You all agree with me? Yeah. Very good officers. But one rotten orange will spoil the whole basket. And so, it is the same interference they're facing. It is the same manipulation from the PNM. They have corrupted this PNM, every single independent institution. Look at the state and quality of our lives now today and tell me, who is to blame for that? Are you better off today than you were in 2015? Are you better off today than you were during the period 2010 to 2015? Are you better off? No way, no way, no way. You can't be safe, as I say, not even in a playground. And whilst this is taking place, what is the government focused on? Witch hunts, witch hunts. They are busy spending millions of dollars to persecute and hunt down UNC members. Now we've seen their plot backfired right in their face. I know there's such a thing, we all know it, karma. We have seen that the PNM got a taste of that today, karma. When you dig hole for the people, remember you're digging hole for yourself. And that is what has happened to this wicked government. They got a taste of karma. So when you dig in that hole, you better dig one for yourself. Or dig no hole for anyone. That is the answer. Don't dig no hole for anyone with your lies. My brothers and sisters, as I close tonight, I want to talk to you a little about the word hubris. Can I spell it for you? H-U-B-R-I-S. Hubris. Heard that word before? You know when last I heard it? In the relation to politics. In 2010, when we were challenging then government, 2010, and the Express editorial had written, Mr. Selwyn Ryan, great man, by the way, his column, and he talked about hubris. And that has manifested over again now in this wicked evil government. That word is used to describe a person who has extreme or excessive pride or dangerous overconfidence. It is often synonymous with the word arrogance. So hubris, we see hubris all the time in the political arena. As I said, remember when then Prime Minister Patrick Manning, he fired his foreign affairs minister. How? You remember that? Anybody young enough to remember by facts? That's his hubris. Overconfidence, arrogance. Remember when the late PNM Home Affairs Minister Patrick Solomon, he went into the Woodbrook police station and removed his stepson who was under arrest. That was hubris. Remember when Shamfa said after the general election that it was their time now, deal with it, we in charge now, deal with it. That was hubris. Remember when Dr. Rowley admitted that he was a high-ranking official who met with the then Police Service Commission Chairman, Blissy Prasad, at President's house and provided her with information on Gary and got her to pull back the merit list. That was hubris. Remember in 2019, then when they were just charged, the two Rams, Anand and Gerald, what Rowley said. He said he intended to bolt Anand Ramlogan and Gerald Ramdeen onto my chest. I don't know what this fella have with my chest. I really don't know. What this fella have with my chest, boy? So he wants to bolt that onto my chest. Well, experts describe hubris. That was hubris too. That overconfidence, that arrogance. The experts describe hubris as indicating the loss of contact with reality. And we saw that over the budget. We've seen it. They are totally out of touch, disconnected with the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It is an exaggeration of their own capability and competence. The PNM is infected with hubris. We are now witnessing the unraveling of this con-man PNM regime. In their hate to destroy the two, Gerald and Anand, at all costs, they have overstepped, as we said, constitutional boundaries. Their hubris may very well lead to criminal proceedings perverting the course of justice, misbehavior in public office. I think we can throw the whole law book at them. Misconduct in public office at common law. Under statute law, interference and perversion of the course of justice. And I have about 10 more charges, I think, will apply in the circumstances that we have seen. We now have Rowley and his cabinet delaying the selection of deputy commissioners of police. You saw what the PSC put out recently? Then they sent, yes, they sent out a press release to explain why they appointed Miss Erler as the acting commissioner of police. And they said the only person who could act is somebody who is a DCP. She was the only DCP acting as well. Now acting as commissioner in the absence of the another actor. Jacob is also acting commissioner of police. They will not use the law and give people that benefit of having your job secure, because what they want to do, they want to interfere. They want to pick and choose so they can control what goes on in some arms of the TTPS. That is what that whole interference with the Police Service Commission is about, to prolong the existence of someone. And now, this thing about the age, excuse me, you heard him said it in the budget, and they said they're going to bring something to extend the age of persons in the public service, the retirement age, to 65. That is eerily familiar to me. Because in 2010, when we were fighting the elections then, the then Prime Minister wanted to extend the retirement age for permanent secretaries. And the others in the system, well, no, if you do that, how am I going to climb up? When will I ever get promoted? But that was also an attempt to keep people in positions. Isn't there an acting commissioner of police who already crossed the age? Will you bring that law to keep people in positions, I'm asking you? If you're coming here now to say you're feeling sorry for people, I think if you want to do that, it should be a matter of choice. You should not pass law to legislate a retirement age. Because when people began to work, you had what they call in law a legitimate expectation that these are the terms and conditions of my service, that I will work until what age? 60. I haven't reached 60 yet, and you want to come and tell me I have to work 5 years more? That should be a matter of a person's choice. The government should not be legislating that. So we will look at the constitutionality of doing that. We have brilliant lawyers in the UNC, don't we? We have very brilliant lawyers. And therefore we shall be looking into that exercise. You have mismanaged the economy. And now you want to, that's why you don't have money to pay people when they retire, to get their NIS and whatever else, you have your pensions and so on. So you want to force them to labor. This is not a slave country, you know him, but Master Day done. Master Day is done. And we will fight you on anything that is wrong. So, Stuart Young, in the midst of this internal election, I don't want to worry election, that is their own, what is called it? That's their own business. Let them fight each other. In the midst of that, we have two cabinet colleagues apparently engaged in an inside battle against each other. So, the others told you, we confirm, it was Stuart who gave the notarized statement to the UK. Stuart's disclosure unraveled the deal with Nelson. and all chickens have come home to roost in Faris's head. Now, when I told you the case was filed in February by Scotland, at that time, Faris was the Attorney General. After case file, well, everybody knew. What did they do? Move Faris out of the AG's job. Did you think about that? They moved him out because all of them knew. They all knew. As somebody told me tonight, all of you said it. Everyone is guilty. All guilty. They're all guilty. Everyone is guilty. So, speaking about Stuart, by the way, I don't know if you've seen a story in today's Newsweek about the 67 NP gas stations at risk of being shut down. Who is the Minister of Energy? Stuart Young. So here we have the Minister of Energy, same Stuart Young. Since the judge's ruling in May, he has done nothing to regularize the license arrangements of 67 NP service stations. Instead, NP's lawyers, and remember, Stuart is the line minister, they have run to the court like Chicken Little to say the sky is falling down. There will be disruption to the traveling public if these licenses are not regularized. 67 NP stations. Let us know that Stuart's lawyer in the case, before the High Court, was guess whom? Take a guess, just take a guess. The present Attorney General, Limo. That was his lawyer in the case of the High Court. Now, if this happens, these stations are going to be shut down. It is because the minister directed NP to cease supplying those stations with petrol, the ones without a license. The Minister of Energy is in charge of enforcing the Petroleum Act. He has not taken any steps for 5 months, and now there's a sudden panic when all he has to do is work with NP and the dealers and regularize all of them, even if it means coming to Parliament for validating legislation. As for the Petroleum Dealers Association, they brought the judicial review in the first place by their lead attorney, guess who? Another one of Faris's friends, Fayed Hussein. It has managed to shoot itself, the PDA, by jeopardizing the operations of many of its dealer members. I wonder if that association will be coming to court to say no to suspension and shut all of them down. Expensive and dangerous games are being played in the courts. The PDA targeted the Diego Martin service station and ended up with 67 stations licensed being deemed unlawful by implication. 67 stations. The minister refuses to fix the situation. He leaves it up to the courts and both sides waiting for the other side to do what? To see who will blink first. Meanwhile, the public continues to pay the legal fees for the ministers and NP's lawyers, and now we'll have to worry about where we'll fill the gas station. As we said, the most expensive place he's ever gone is where? In a gas station, to pay these high prices at the gas station. From NP's own affidavit, the government's legal hijinks involving very expensive lawyers and Stuart Young's mismanagement of his portfolio now puts us in a place where the entire country may soon be shut down because of the run on petrol if these 67 stations do not have petrol. So I'm putting you on notice and cause. NP and Stuart are silent in the face of that report. Again, they don't care about you, they don't care about anybody. Suffer as you may, it has nothing to do with them. And that too is hubris, their overconfidence, their arrogance, their exaggeration, their belief that they are the only people competent and capable and will listen to nothing else. And whilst I talk about hubris, I want to talk about the judiciary. I told you I will come back to the judiciary. I'll just take a few minutes more. The PNM does not care about anyone except for their friends, family, and finances. They will do anything to destroy who they think are their political enemies, using any arm of the state and state resources. Could it be the police? Could it be the judiciary? Speaking of hubris, the judiciary now seems to be on a law, to be a law unto itself, and I'll tell you why. They told the government why it is unable to comply with the provisions of the Public Procurement Act. They said because they are not adequately staffed. The government is now using that as an excuse to delay putting the act into effect. In the meantime, billions of dollars in corruption without the procurement law is going down. Again, they can't find money to buy laptops. They can't give you the baby grant. Remember, I gave the baby grant to families in need so they could at least buy milk for their children. They cannot find the money, as I say, to pay the gate for students. They've closed the gate on students, so many things. But what will happen? Billions in corruption going down. Every dollar lost to corruption is $1 that could have gone to fix potholes, to fix your roads, your drains, deal with flooding. And so the government is using that to say, okay, we can't proclaim the law. So they could continue with their practices. Government giving the judiciary a blind, and this is a question, to avoid oversight as to how it spends its money, may in circumstances be seen by the ordinary person as a favor in return for favorable judgments. Judiciary, okay, you have no oversight, don't worry, we don't worry about you. Go ahead and spend money. And in return, as happened with Nelson and his case, is there some conspiracy? I'm only asking, as I say, always for a friend and for the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Is it that you're giving a lie because you want one back in return? Judicial independence is very important. And so I ask, is the government, by bowing to the judiciary's delaying tactic, making track for Guti to run in exchange for favors? Millions of public dollars are at stake. Perhaps the best example of hubris, I started with that word and I'm still on it, is Farris's revelation. I tell you, this fella's so dunce, you know. He had to call out two senior counsels, Douglas Menz and Gilbert Peterson. Well, I hope they will break their silence and tell us what happened and how much money they got paid. How much were you paid? When Farris tells us Douglas Menz, SC, Gilbert Peterson, SC, eminent senior counsels, they settled a now infamous indemnity agreement which Nelson and Farris signed. So confident, he's calling out his colleagues. Do you mean he couldn't even settle a document himself? But Farris, you are not going to get bailed out because of SC Gilbert Peterson and SC Douglas Menz. Because at the end of the day, as others said tonight, the buck stops with you. You were the Attorney General. You signed the agreement. And the buck stops with your government and your Prime Minister. All of you are guilty of this bacchanal and scandal in the country. Shame and scandal. You remember that song? Shame and scandal in the PNM. And so, how much money were they paid? Now, with the greatest respect to the two senior counsels, I do not think that an opinion, this will sound funny, but it is funny. Farris is blind now. His defense now is, hey, I didn't do it, it wasn't me. Like Shaggy, it wasn't me. No, it wasn't me, it's Douglas and Gilbert. But Farris, the fact that you have an opinion from Douglas Menz and Gilbert Peterson, whether you got it jointly or severally from the two guys, that is not a defense known to law. It is not a defense in law. You cannot plead, well, look, it's them fellas, not me. That is not a defense. It is no defense. You have no defense. You are guilty. All of you, guilty. So Farris has, yes, Saf. You can't do that. Let the police do their work first, please. And so I asked already how much money they were paid. That's important too, because we hear all these millions and zillions. What Alice says is billions, Alice says it. But there's still more billions. How much were they paid? Douglas Menz and Gilbert Peterson. And anyone else hiding in the woodwork. We will soon hear about others who have been involved in this matter. I now come to the Law Association. Our friend Douglas Menz, did you know that? Our friend in law, as we say. He is a senior ordinary member and a champion of Trinidad and Tobago, replacing the Privy Council with the Caribbean Court of Justice. Always busy talking. So Mr. Douglas Menz, in the face of Nelson Gate, that same law association in the past has criticized everybody. Why are they so quiet today? Why you remain silent as lambs? Silence is not an option in this fiasco. So Douglas Menz is a senior member a senior member of the Law Association. And all of this, while the society led by so-called validating and silent elites, and some of you call them out tonight, all of them, if a drop of rain fall, they're out there crying and quarreling and calling out people. Totally silent, the validating elites. Because what? They're all closet P&M. Because they all what? Eat a food. I said that before here and people get vexed with me, but I'll repeat it again. Eat a food, that's what they are. Ask Reggie Amor how many briefs he got from the state before he became AG, you know. Ask the others when the Law Association brought the motion to deal with Limo for lying in a Miami court. Lying, you know. This is an attorney general, shame and disgrace to Trinidad and Tobago. When we brought that motion, all these Eat a Food senior counsels, they're crying. Gilbert puts us, oh yeah, I know Reggie Amor, he's a very good boy, excellent boy. Don't mind he lying thing, you know, he's a good boy. You remember that? You all remember that, you know, Eat a Food people. Anyhow, moving along. All the time now, these people are so quiet, silent, and the country and the people are being led like lambs to the slaughter. We are not in a good place as a society. The rule of law has been, is being, will continue to be undermined by this P&M and their minions. Now, the Attorney General, when the case collapsed, when it is mash up, it gone, when the DPP made his statement in the court, and what did this another dunce Attorney General say, the present one? He said he wanted to bring Ramdeen and Ramlogan before the disciplinary committee of the same law association. Like that fellow don't know what happened there. You can't bring them for disciplinary before they did not do something wrong in law. If you're a lawyer and you do something wrong, you charge your client too much money or you thief your client money, yeah, disciplinary proceedings before law association. Law association is not the body, that's the first point. They have no remit, no power, no jurisdiction to deal with that. But here, this one. Do you know who chairs the disciplinary committee of the law association? You see, it's a whole connected, interconnected. Gilbert Peterson, senior counsel, is the chairman of the disciplinary committee. And guess what? This is the same Mr. Peterson. I don't really go up those places. I think you go to them less expensive places or more. On the golf course, playing golf with whom? Keith Rowley. Inez Gate neighbor in Tobago. All of them buy these apartments in Inez Gate and so on. So there's a silent commentators. What about the transparency? Somebody remember those people? When last you heard them make a comment on anything? They migrated. I think one of them became an ambassador somewhere, you're right. In Jamaica, the man who used to head transparency, they buy him out. Sorry, they didn't buy him. I withdraw that word. They send him off to Jamaica. He get a nice send-off with salary. Go on. So where are the rest of them? All right-thinking persons in this country must reject this. Look, we have to make our collective voices heard. We have to do it. The time is now, and now is the time. If not now, when? What more will you sit here and stay and play like quiet and afraid? The time for fair is gone. Now is the time for fight, and fight we must. We must fight, we must fight, we must fight. The rot and stench coming from high offices is not only a UNC problem. When you have no gas in your car, no food to feed your children, no job, your home is flooded, you cannot get a bed at a hospital, it is either you take 5 more years of abuse or decide that enough is enough. The UNC under my leadership is the only government that had put people first, that had governed with respect for all, both those in the north, in the south, in the east, and in the west, and in central. We governed without hubris and without malice, and took pains to improve the lives of every single one. So I ask you, Trinidad and Tobago, do you feel better today than you did under 2010, 2015? I'd asked you before. And I want to warn you, as the Express editorial has put it, MAD, mutually whatever, assured destruction. That's where we are heading under the PNM. Mutually assured, sure, destruction further. So the tentacles of the PNM, they've reached everywhere. I want to warn Rowley and the PNM that winter is indeed coming. We are coming for you politically. Winter is indeed coming. And we will not rest. We will leave no stone unturned. Because you see, as surely as the day follows the night, the sun will rise again. May God bless you all, and I thank you very much.
So who feel the black? Who feel the white? I don't know. But it's settled tomorrow night. Who feel the wrong? Who feel the right? Come and go. And all who feel the too bright. Let me jump up. Let me wind up. Party non-stop. Ramaje bingo leke kete, we come to play mass. Every creed and class. Don't let nothing pass. Like a ready TV, all the love inside the way. Uptown and ghetto. Feeling the tempo. Soca and kaiso. It's party day like so. Soon as we land, fun is the plan. We like the jam, like the man bam. Waving we hand inside the band, we inside the band. And if you cut me, you go see blood. And if you squeeze me, you go feel the love. We are